Boy, they were standing there looking just right at us. They got on the other side of those trees and I lost them. Yeah, you're gonna have several minutes of nothing but rocks. I need to shut it off.
Really cool.
I found the man that owned it some years ago, and I went over, and he was willing to get rid of it, and I purchased it from him. I don't know. Someday I want to put it on the auction. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that yet or not. 40 more years. But I was just thinking, 75 years ago, 9 months and 21 days, there was an ordination sermon preached behind this pulpit for Grandpa Sam Fricke. That's some real history, isn't it? And now, the spot where it happened, there's an ant pile and a bunch of tall weeds and a few bricks and a few blocks. We have a little program outlined here this afternoon. She enjoyed it. The best trip she ever took in her life. I just love that comment. I just can't imagine 8 girls riding in the back seat. If I put myself in Grandpa Sam's shoes, you know, here I've got 8 girls back there, and then I got 3 boys in the front seat with me. He must have been flying high. That must have been a fantastic feeling. Well, Stan's gonna, and I think he has some helpers here. We're gonna try and put 13 people in that automobile. And we tried to put it, we got the size. There's a 38 Chevrolet down the road here. Stan and I took a tape measure down there and we measured it out. He bought some cardboard. Thought it looked too blob without a paint job, so went hardware, got some paint, painted it. And it still looked pretty blob. Like it's got to have some wheels painted on it. And need some pinstripe. Rich said, that's no problem. Put some pinstripes on it. So that's kind of what it looks like. And there's 3 seats back there. I understand Grandpa Sam took the back seat out and put 2 benches back there. So we have 8 girls. So Stan, I'll turn it over to you and we'll go from here.
Well, there is a bit of discrepancy as to just when exactly this trip took place. But if we use 1942 as a bit of timeline there. Grandpa Sam would have been 39 years of age, and Grandma would have been 39, and Annabelle would have been 17, and Ruby would have been 15, Gertrude would have been 14, Ruth would have been 13. Can you count backwards that way? Mary would have been 11, Johanna 10, Helen 9, Clara 8, Sam 6, Bobby 5, and Maynard 3. That would have been the family. We've asked some out of this audience to come up here and to help us with this. We weren't able to match the ages up just real accurately, but it'll give us an idea. Sid and Irene are Grandpa and Grandma. Let's come forward. Okay, why don't you start standing over here, Sid, and Irene next to your left there. All right. Annabelle is Emily. Emily, come up here and stand next. Okay, all right. Emily is our daughter. And then Ruby is Allison. No. Tamara. Is that right? Sid and Irene's girl, Tamara. Okay, Tamara, why don't you come up? This is Ruby. And Gertrude is Allison. That's Sam and Ruth's daughter. Allison? Ruth is Janelle. That's another one of Sid and Irene's girls. Janelle. Mary is Danelle. That's one of Sam and Ruth's girls. Johanna is Courtney. That's one of Kerwin and Valerie's daughters. Helen is Ingrid. That's one of Troy and Sonia's girls. Clara is Lindsay. That's one of Kerwin and Valerie's girls. Sam is Josh. It's one of Sam and Ruth's boys. Josh? You look like Sam? Bobby is Philip. That's another one of Sam and Ruth's boys. Philip, you want to come stand up here? And Maynard is Derry. That's one of Sherwin and Joetta's. Michigan, and we're going to see if we can get them in here. We haven't practiced this, but we're going to see if they can get in there. The way that we understand that they were seated is that Sam and Catherine were in the front with the 3 boys, 2 boys between them, and Maynard on the lap of Grandma. And then we don't know how the girls were seated in the back seat exactly, but all 8 girls were in the 2 back seats. So, Grandpa Sam, it's probably time to load up and go. Now, to make this all work, Grandpa Sam took out the back seat, and in place of the back seat, he made 2 benches to go in there. You go.
If I can get him in there. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable. Yeah, they're going to say
This trip was 1,200 miles one way.
Are you thinking of leaving the venue for the rest of the night?
How many days were
they measure it. This is going to be the inside. It's actually not as tight as I thought it was. I really think it would be. Side to
Besides this, they had to take all their luggage. They only had
your seats again here. Can you?
I got it.
Well, you can visualize a little bit what it was like, and no doubt it wasn't a very quiet carload either. More than likely there was a fair bit of finger poking and hair pulling, and I understand that Grandpa Sam told them that if they didn't behave, they was going to need to walk a mile. Aunt Ruth says she actually had to, I think. Yeah. So I don't suppose that the roads were all paved either, were they?
No,
Dirt roads, rough and bouncy?
no, I don't think there's any dirt roads.
No dirt roads? Well, let's put it in gear, Grandpa. Let's take off, and the girls say that to pass the time, Grandpa would sing with the family. He was going down the road, and one of the songs that they sang together was When the Roll is Called Up Yonder. And so while they're driving down the road, we're going to all sing together with them here that song, When the Roll is Called Up Yonder. Dennis is going to lead it. When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. When the sacred earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. On that bright cloudless morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise, and the glory of His resurrection share, when His chosen ones shall gather to their home beyond the sky, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. Let us labor for the Master from the dawn till setting sun. Let us talk of all His wondrous love and care. Then when all of life is over and our work on earth is done, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. This trip didn't take place in a day's time. It took a number of days, and the children say that Grandpa, when he'd stop at night, different places, much of it was alongside the road, but when he would stay at someone's home, he liked to get the children up and line them up and have them sing to their hosts. And so we're going to let them demonstrate that to us. The song that they sang was the Royal Telephone. He liked to sing that song. So Grandpa and Grandma, it's time to get out and sing to these people here.
think there's somebody coming and walking up the road. We go, yeah, they're up there. And I don't remember going into the bay.
Never,
Do you?
never.
They
Didn't
said,
stop at Best Western?
no,
What's
they
the law?
didn't. They didn't have
They
that.
used to have that by the seventies.
They
You
said
guys
if they
came
did
around.
stop somewhere where there was nice lodging, they'd have bed bugs and dirty conditions. So I don't know if that was the, why we didn't, well, that was the way people traveled back in
Yep.
those days.
We were no different than the rest of the people.
They had roadside parks.
Did you ever run out of gas?
I don't remember having any motor problems or, you know,
Yeah, they found out hot, we had stopped and cool and put water in.
Farmers always had plenty of coupons for gas.
we didn't.
Yeah, because it was in August, and it was hot. So we stopped at roadside parks to eat our meals and to rest and for our night. And that was the custom for a lot of
For kids, this was not a hardship. For kids, this was party time.
Dennis, Helen has something to say.
Okay.
When I remember when we'd stop at a gas station to get gas, and people would stop and count us. Was we allowed to get out of the car? I don't remember we did. Yes. But that-
I think my dad's number one worry was that somebody would kidnap one of his beautiful daughters. He's always talking about white slavery. Remember that? You guys, white slavery is, well, today you call it prostitution. You kidnap a little girl and sell her into prostitution.
I remember Daddy warned us a lot, even going to town in Greensburg.
Yep.
He would say, when you girls walk down the streets and somebody opens the door, don't you dare go in there. He says, we'll never see you again.
Yep.
And I don't know how prevalent that was.
All the time.
When it happened. But he warned us a lot.
Well, we even read about it today, though.
Yep.
Too sad.
I would imagine that their food, their wood prepare prior to their trip by mother, so that they had something to eat. And I would almost bet that half of that preparation was chicken. Because they fried the chicken and it keeps pretty well through the trip, because I know my folks did the same thing going to California, that they prepared enough food so they had one good meal a day with on the road going to California. And I would almost bet that's what happened.
Well, if you want to take bread along on a trip and you want to keep, I think you can just toast it and it'll last quite a while, won't it?
Right, I think so.
We were just thrilled to be able to go on a trip.
It was party time.
And when we got to Michigan, we really enjoyed the food because we didn't have fruit in Kansas, and they did. They had fruit trees there, and we ate so much we got sick. That I remember.
Your first walk to Michigan.
We went right to Grandpa Fricke's. Grandpa Fricke and Uncle Bill's lived on the
Well,
same
did he
road.
have enough room to keep all these folks?
Oh, yes, they had a great big house.
Bigger than Colin, right?
Even if we had to sleep on the floor, then.
Every night, we'd all have to line our shoes up in a row. And every morning, we'd have each one to get up on top of our beds and make them.
And if we didn't, it'd be total chaos in the morning. We couldn't find anything.
Just wink his eye and we knew what that meant.
We didn't just go to Michigan. We went to Ohio. We went to see all our uncles and aunts over there, Uncle Harvey's and Uncle Jay's. And we went to see Mom's sister, Aunt Mary, Leo Peters. We went into Indianapolis
the money sitting there? They were wrong, wasn't it?
Oh, is this a 2-week trip?
Yeah.
Well, it was over a week, I'll grant you.
Memories from Annabelle. We had the opportunity to go visit her in Oregon this springtime in March, and unfortunately she wasn't able to make it this far. She felt it would be kind of a difficult trip to make, but she asked me if I would read some of her memories from Texas. When I was up there, she asked if I would read some memories right now from Texas. I have a little bit, kind of the condensed version. Annabelle likes to write, and she's a very good writer. But I picked out kind of a condensed part to give you an idea of what Annabelle's memories from living here in Texas were like. And this essay is entitled Texas Panhandle. When I was 7, my parents with their 6 young daughters left their native home in Michigan to relocate in the Panhandle of North Texas. Grandpa and Grandma Miniger and their 2 youngest children, Uncle Edwin and Aunt Mabel, had settled there several years earlier. Uncle Elias and Aunt Marietta, with their young family of boys who were about the same age as my sisters and myself, preceded our family by several months. From these relatives, my parents received many glowing letters proclaiming the wonders of this new country. The climate in Texas was mild and crops abundant. Melons of many varieties grew sweet and large. These were a special treat to we northern folk. Dad and Mom were soon convinced to exchange the familiar for an adventurous trek to a new land 2,000 miles away. They were convinced the Texas climate would be warmer, with many other opportunities available in this relatively new land. The severe cold and deep snowfall so common to our beautiful Michigan was causing Mother's pleurisy to cause her greater discomfort each succeeding winter. They were certain this move to Texas would be beneficial to every member of the family. A drastic change in climate and scenery requires many adjustments. A damp, chilly climate with large amounts of winter snowfall was exchanged for the opposite type of weather. Rainfall was always in short supply, and the continual wind blew from different directions, causing the dry climate. Instead of small, neatly fenced fields, we found Texas to have large open spaces with very few fences, creating a situation known as free range. The cattle were free to wander seeking fresh grazing lands. Neighbors were living further apart, and trees were very sparse in our new community. School was 8 miles away over very rough, bumpy roads, which required an hour's ride morning and evening in a school bus. In Michigan, I had been accustomed to walking 1.5 miles to a small one-room school accompanied by many cousins and friends. My parents, Sam and Catherine Fricke, with their 6 daughters, arrived at Grandpa and Grandma Miniger's home a few days before Thanksgiving, 1932. The Depression had already deepened and was a topic of discussion. We stayed with Grandpa and Grandma Miniger for several weeks until the previous owners vacated our new home. Uncle Elias and Aunt Marietta and their children were living in our grandparents' basement suite. We were one big happy family. My days were filled with school, chores, fun, and games. Grandma, Aunt Mabel, and Mama were kept busy preparing delicious meals for at least a dozen of our clans 3 times a day. Many happy memories linger of the good times we shared around Grandma's dining room table, playing games, telling stories, or enjoying one of the many tasty meals served by my Pennsylvania Dutch grandmother, who was an excellent cook. By the time the last year rolled around that my family lived in the Texas Panhandle, the dust storms grew worse and worse. One particular Sunday evening remains etched very clearly in my mind. Daddy moved our house onto Grandpa Miniger's acreage during this last year. My family had had Sunday dinner with Grandpa and Grandma Miniger and Aunt Mabel, my mother's youngest sister, who was 18 and living at home. Some visitors stopped by in the afternoon to visit. Around 5:30, everyone walked outside to see the guests off. The northern horizon was very black, and we watched the darkness as it moved rapidly upon us. Soon the black cloud had covered the sun. We stood watching the strange phenomena unfold before our eyes. Whatever could this be? Would it bring us rain? That would be a special gift to the whole area. Someone wondered if it might be the Judgment Day. We stood watching until we all could find better shelter immediately. It appeared to be one mighty dirt cloud. There was no wind at all, very unusual for a dirt storm to come without wind. We ran inside quickly, closing the door fast behind us. Immediately, the dark cloud was upon our house. The darkness was thick enough to feel. Daddy groped to find a match so he could light a kerosene lamp. Shortly, the wind began to blow. All night long it blew with ferocity. Mama gave us wet washcloths to hold up to our mouth and nose to filter the air we breathed. Wet rags were placed around the windows to keep some of the fine particles from coming into the house. This heavy, dark dust was very suffocating as it filtered into every small nook and cranny. The next day we heard of much devastation from this bad storm. Many jackrabbits were found in a sitting position beside the roads, along the fences, all dead. They had suffocated. The dirt that came from the north in this bad dirt storm was not the light soil of the Texas Panhandle, but dark, heavy soil from hundreds of miles away. Many people were admitted to the hospital with dust pneumonia, and many older folk did not recover from this illness. 3 of my younger sisters became very sick with dust pneumonia. Many exciting things happened during the 3 years my family lived in Texas. The depression was becoming more and more severe. The terrible drought was causing even more hardships as it grew worse and worse. The rains practically ceased. This caused crops to become almost non-existent. The grasses on the plains were becoming very parched, while the cattle grew weaker and weaker. The amount of milk they gave was becoming less and less. The situation finally became so desperate, the government came in with some aid for the poor farmers. The cows were purchased for a small sum of money, then marched to a huge grave to be shot and buried on the spot. This seems cruel, but was the humane thing to do, as the animals were all slowly starving to death. One of the saddest days of my life was the day my family moved away from the Texas Panhandle to Greensburg, Kansas. I couldn't take my beloved horse, Babe, along to our new home. Many sad tears were shed during this time. I can understand my parents' predicament better today than I could then. Money was scarce, very scarce, during the Depression. Daddy would need to hire someone to haul Babe to Kansas in a truck, and this would cost money he did not have. Tearfully, I kissed my horse goodbye for the last time. Her velvety soft nostrils and never sniffed my jacket again. Never again could I ride on the Texas range with my faithful pony. The memories I have shared with you in the story take me back many years ago to a place of much hardship and poverty, yet there is more joy than sorrow as I reminisce of the earlier years of my childhood spent riding the Texas range on the back of an Arabian mare. 75 years ago, since my family moved from Texas to Greensburg, Kansas. Time always moves on. There were other horses I was privileged to ride while living in Kansas, but never again was there a horse who comes close to attachment I felt to Babe. Her smooth, steady trot and speedy gallop were uniquely hers. Memories are pleasant companions, and they are always with us. And that's what Annabelle.
You think you could never have a faith as the father Abraham, as he led his people through the desert, destination unknown. Do you fear God would never part a sea for you, just like Moses? But all they had was a little bit of faith in a great big God. It's not the size of
This reunion at Big Thanksgiving. And I want to tell you, the next reunion, there'll be some of us missing. In '92, since then, there's 9 of our family members in the plane. So just think how privileged we are to all be together.
Well, let's just take a moment here. I don't know if there's any others taken since that time or not. I don't.
Recognize, but I think you're in good hands, because the future belongs to the youth. And as long as you want to have a reunion, I'll be there if I can. So I always love to talk with Cecil. And we talked about what happened to the Vinegar reunion. Well, Cecil and Ruby went there. They got all the information they could get, and then they passed it on to me. And then we went there maybe 20 years ago, and I talked to the guys that Cecil talked to. I said, what happened? Why isn't there a Vinegar reunion? There's still a Fricke reunion, no Vinegar reunion. And they said the youth just didn't want to go. They wouldn't come. So I just visited Orville Friesen, or not Orville Friesen, Orville Fricke. And I said, Orville, I would love to go to that Fricke reunion, but the last Fricke reunion I was there, I think it was 202, we ate lunch, and I turned around, and everybody was gone. What happened to that? Why don't they stay? Orville says, I don't know. So Orville and I agreed that if we're alive in 3 years, we're going to go to that Fricke reunion, and I'm going to let Orville drive me around, because in 1952, after Maynard got killed, we went to Michigan in a 51 Plymouth, and Orville drove me around, and he was mad at me. Well, I said, Orville, we're going to see if you're a madman next time. So just to follow families is very important, because whether you like it or not, you're linked with the people you're born with, your health, everything. So I think get-togethers are very important, so you can see what your common destiny is for your health, your mental welfare, and everything. So I think this Fricke reunion is in very good hands. Because you got a lot of good-looking kids, and I do really appreciate it. My sister produced beautiful children. I hate to say it, but I think they're the best baby factories of all.
Marty, I don't think you're excluded.
You come again next time.
I'll be here. Thank you.
When he was 45 years old, he was taken sick with cancer. I, along with Mother, was at his bedside a lot. It was hard to see him suffer, but we had many good talks together. His wife, Catherine, and family would come often to see him. One day the family came, and Maynard, the youngest one, was with them. He knew his daddy wouldn't live long, so he wanted to talk to him. He had to step on a little stool to get close to him. He got on the stool and said, Daddy, we're almost out of pig feed. What shall we do? Sam looked around with his big brown eyes and smiled and said, someone will see that you get pig feed. Is that what you were thinking of? That's it.
I came home one afternoon, and there was nobody in the house. And there was a note there. We left. Daddy's dying. We have to go see him and gossip. And here 3 boys were, and I was the oldest boy. And so my dad always had a bunch of guns, but we didn't have any food. So we had to get some chickens, take them to town. We took them to town, and we had a friend in town. His name was Milo Flowers. He had a feed store. And we took the chickens to him, and he bought them. He once was boasted, but he bought them. Or no, he didn't buy them. He bartered, gave us some feed and some money, so we could go feed the cows and buy us some food. And so I was driving that old truck, that Ford, that Dodge that Mary had got, and I could hardly see over the windshield. And we were driving in this lot, and all of a sudden, the ditch went straight down. There was a ditch. Clunk in the ditch. The front wheel's in the ditch. So we had to go get a wrecker to lift us up so we could back up. The wrecker lifted us up, 3 little boys, I was 10. And we had to go back home. They took all our money. We had to go back home and get more chicken. So we went home, we got more chickens, and we got this salami, and boys, we ever eat, no, not salami, bologna, and did we ever eat? We had bologna and everything. And here we were, around there for at least 3 or 4 days. We had these guns and all that ammunition, which is shooting away. If you want to read a good book, it's called The Lord of the Flies. It's all about this stuff. And then all of a sudden, Edgar Jackson showed up. And he said, I've been hearing reports that you boys have been shooting rifles and stuff. And yeah, we've been shooting rifles, but if you don't get the heck out of here, we're going to shoot you too. So we survived. It was a fun life.
15, 10 out 15, 10 out 15, 15 out 20. 15 out 20, literally 15 out 20. 15 out 20, literally 15 out 20. Literally 15 out 20, 15 out 20, literally 15 out 20, 20 out 80, 1 now 190. 249, 250. 249, 250. Better now, 249, 250. 250 now, 260. 269, 270. 269, 270. Better now, 270. 269, 270. 270 now, 280. 280 now, 290. 280 now, 290. 290 now, 300. 300 now, 310. 310 now, 320. 320 now, 330. 320 now, 500 now, 5 now, 5 10. 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 8 now, 5 10. Sold him. $500 to number 3. So $20. Better now 20. Better now 20. Better now 20. Better now 20. $10 where? $10. Better now $10. Better now 10. Better now 10. 10 now 40 now 45. 40 now 45. Better now 40 now 45. 40 now 45. Better now 40 now 45. 40 now 45. Better now 40 now 45. 45 now 50. 45 now 50. Better now 45 now 50. 45 now 50. Better now. You might take both of them. 40 now 5. 250. 250 now. 250 now 5. 250 now 5. 5 now 750. 750 now 10. 15. 15 now 20. 15 now 20.
Okay.
20 now 25. Better now 20 now 25. 20 now 25. Better now 20 now 25. 50 now 60. 50 now 60. Better now 50 now 60.
60.
60 now 70. 60 now 70. Better now 80. 80 now 90. 80 now 90.
My dad died 11.5 years ago. Which one? Decorated in or decorating?
I'd rather get like fall that like it. Wait till early spring.
Which one?
When the mothers should not be looking. I know, that's right. Wait straight down. That's a pretty good time.
The girl, no, you're fine. No, you're fine.
In the way.
Which one do you want?
I didn't know that either.
What'd you say?
I was doing a volunteer.
Oh,
No.
don't trust her. He's giving me a hard time.
Seasick video. Well, put some money in there.
Where's the nearest town?
16 miles away.
Well, then,